What's up guys, I'm Mr. here, back with some Magic the Gathering content. Today, we are looking at the new Jumpstart cards, and we're going to talk about mainly Commander. So the first card I want to talk about is this calming line. Thriving Grove is a land that has Thriving Grove enters the battlefield tapped, and as Thriving Grove enters the battlefield, choose a color other than green. You can tap it, you add green, or one of the mana of the chosen color. So every set has their common to uncommon dual land cards, and I think these are above the average. Being able to choose any color when it enters the battlefield makes it a lot stronger when you're running 3, 4, or 5 colors. Being able to choose the color that you're missing could be really important in some games, but I don't think these lands are better than the Fetch Land, Shock Land, Triumph synergy. So I don't think they'll be crazy, but they're a really good budget land. Ronaldi Behem colorless, 2 of any color and 1 green for 1/3 legendary creature cat shaman. He has, whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value 5 or greater, that creature enters the battlefield with X additional +1/+1 counters on it, where X is its mana value -4. And creatures you control with 3 or more 1/1 counters on them have haste, and you can tap for 1 green mana. So my first thought is to run this is your commander in an Eldrazi deck, because they're already super big and they have an attack trigger, so giving them haste gives them more value because they can just annihilate immediately. So I was thinking of maybe Ulamog and Kozilek because their annihilators are so big. Maybe Ulamog's Crusher could be pretty good, and they would get really massive. Let's say you played him, he'd be coming at 12/12 with Annihilator 2. That's pretty powerful. It's also really fun to use Blightsteel Colossus. This is 12 mana, so he'd get +8/+8. So you would get a 19/19 trample, in fact indestructible, all in one. So you just randomly one-shot someone. That seems pretty fun. Infernal Idol is 3 of any color for an artifact that can tap and add 1 black mana. And tap 1 of any color and 2 black mana, tap, sacrifice Infernal Idol, you draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. So this is a pretty decent mana rock. At 3 mana to add 1 mana isn't the best, but it's still pretty good. And the ability to draw cards whenever you don't need more mana and you need more cards is really powerful. So I think it's a good combination of 2 abilities, and it's a decent card in most black decks. Disciple of Perdition is 1 of any color and 1 black for a 1/3 human warlock that has, when Disciple of Perdition dies, choose 1. If you have exactly 13 life, you may choose both. You draw a card and lose 1 life, or exile target opponent's graveyard, that player loses 1 life. So this is a pretty flexible creature you can play in a deck that really likes killing its own creatures. Because losing the 1 life and drawing a card is pretty good. It replaces itself. And you have the added flexibility where it can also hit your opponent's grave, and that can be really important for some commander decks. So it's a pretty good card that you put in if you know you're playing against a lot of graveyard decks. The 13 life thing where you can choose both, I don't think that's relevant. That will not happen like 99% of the time. It's just kind of extra flavor. Rodolph Dustbringer is 5 of any color and 1 black for a 4 for a legendary creature vampire angel. He has flying, death touch, lifelink. Whenever you gain life, Rodolph Dustbringer gains indestructible until end of turn. And at the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1 of any color and 1 white or 1 black. When you do, return target creature card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. I think the problem with this guy is that he's too much mana. 6 is a lot, but when he comes into play and you untap, if you're playing this guy as your commander, you might be running instant speed life gain, so that if they remove him, instead you play life gain and then you give it indestructible until a turn. So it has this sort of protectability you can play around. And then for its last ability, it's really important to note that he does have lifelink. So when he does, you can pay 2 to reanimate something with 4 power. And if you're playing the deck as your commander, you'll probably run a lot of different ways to gain life, and then you can reanimate something really, really big. So I think this guy is pretty dope commander. Lita, Mechanical Engineers, 2 of any color and 1 white for a 3/3 legendary artifact creature artificer. She has Vigilance, and at the beginning of your end step, untap each other artifact creature you control. Also, play 3 of any color and 1 white, tap, create a 5/5 colorless vehicle artifact token named Zeppelin with flying and crew 3. I like the vigilance on this so it can attack and then activate its ability. Her second ability is interesting. Let's say you're playing a vehicle deck and you run artifact creatures. You can attack with those vehicles, and then at the end step they all untap, so you get to block with your artifact vehicle. So that could be pretty good that way, and it works with our last ability because that makes vehicle. 4 mana to make a Zeppelin isn't bad at all, and you can always each turn activate it, and then you'll get a lot of values also, and it's at instant speed, so you can wait until it's about to be your turn to activate it and hold up protection spells to protect this creature so you can keep on making values. This is another cool commander, but it would also be pretty good in a vehicles deck. Termination Facilitator is 1 of any color and 1 black for a 1/3 human assassin that has tap. Put a bounty counter on target creature or planeswalker. Activate only as a sorcery. And whenever the creature or planeswalker an opponent controls with a bounty counter on it is dealt damage, destroy it. So let's say you play this on turn 2 and they don't kill it. It can actually make a lot of value over the game every turn, just putting a bounty counter on every strong creature. And it can go really well with a commander that can deal those 1 damage to finish off the creatures. So yeah, I think this card is really cool and fun, and it should see play if it's strong enough. So Preston Adventure is a beautiful card. It is 3 of any color and 1 white for a 2/5 legendary creature rabbit wizard. It has, whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it wasn't cast, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a 0/1 white illusion. Also has, pay 1 and a white, sacrifice 5 illusions, exile target non-land permanent. So the main way to abuse this card is to run card like Ephemerates that exile the creature and then bring him back under your control so that this guy will trigger. So let's say you had a card like Captain of the Watch that when it comes in, it makes 3 1/1s and then it buffs all those 1/1s. You play Ephemerate onto it, it will come back into play, get its ETB again, and then it's going to copy it, so it's going to make another ETB. So you will get 9 1/1s, and then you'll have 2 copies of Captain of the Watch, so they'll all get +2/+2. You'll have 33 total power with this combo that all has vigilance. And this isn't the only card the card can go crazy with, because there is a ton of creatures with strong enter the battlefield effects that you can just keep on flickering. And I'm pretty sure Preston goes infinite with Wispeaver Angel. And her last ability is also really good, because once you have played the creatures, normally they don't have anything other than enter the battlefield effect. So you don't mind sacrificing them to exile non-land permanents, and sometimes you have to do it. So it's a good option to have. So yeah, I think this is one of the cooler commanders that you could play, and I really want to build it now. Violin Wandering Knight is 2 of any color and 2 white for legendary creature Cat Knight. She has first strike. Violin Wandering Knight has double strike as long as 2 or more equipments are attached to it. And pay 1 and 1 white, attach all the equipments you control to Violin. So this could be a really cool command. Her ability to cheat on equipments for 2 mana is really low and efficient, especially with Colossal Hammer. It is a 1 mana artifact equipment with an equip 8, and it gives +10/+10 and loses flying. So instead of paying 8 mana, you're paying 2 mana, which is pretty crazy. So she becomes a 13/13. And if you're playing this deck, you'll have a lot of ways to trample and to deal more damage so that you can just one-shot people. And another cool thing is, if she dies and you have a bunch of equipments, when she comes back, you can pay to and equip her all over again, making her another big threat. But there are still a lot of other equipments that's really good with her. My favorites are Commander's Plate, because she is 1 color, so she gets protection from every other color, so that's pretty crazy. Sword of Vengeance, +2/+0, first strike, vigilance, trample, and haste, all things she needs. Locks on Hammer, lifelink, trample, +3/+0. Blade of Salves is crazy, giving it Myriad and Argentum armor, only paying 2 mana to get this huge equipment onto her. Whisper Still Cloak is also really good with her, because even though she has Shroud, she can still attach the equipment to her because it doesn't target. So it becomes a really good equipment for her, because being unblockable is crazy and you're just going to one-shot people. All of the swords are also really good in the deck, so I think she could be a really powerful commander that is also pretty fun. She could also be a pretty good include in equipment centered decks because that last ability can be so efficient. Ashcoat of the Shadow Swarm is 3 any color and 1 black for a 3/4 rat warlock. He has, whenever Ashcoat of the Shadow Realm attacks or blocks, other rats you control get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of rats you control. And at the beginning of your end step, you may mill 4 cards. If you do, return up to 2 rat creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. So rats needed a good commander, and they finally have it. I think this card is nuts in the rat-centric deck. A thing about rats is you get a lot of them. So that buff he gives to all the rats could be pretty big. And it gets even better because you already have a big board. So you could be swinging for an insane amount of damage. And his last ability is really powerful. You don't even need to run like a mill-centric team for this card to be good. Because if you're just only playing rats, which you should be, the mill 4 is probably on average going to get you 2 rats. So basically it gives you 2 cards every turn while buffing your board. Like, that is crazy. So this is a very exciting mythic, and I think it'll be pretty powerful. Kibo Utapi Prince is 2 any color and 1 green for a 2/2 legendary creature monkey noble. He has tap. Each player creates a colorless artifact token named Banana. With sacrifice this artifact, add red or green, you gain 2 life. Also, whenever an artifact an opponent control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control that's an ape or a monkey. And finally, when Kibo attacks, defending player sacrifices an artifact. So the first ability is pretty interesting, and I would say it's not a symmetric effect. Because when your opponents use it, all your ape and monkeys get a 1/1 counter. That's a big advantage for your board. If you got a lot of monkeys, you can get them big really fast. And making him get big really fast is really good with the last ability, because if he's really big, he's not going to die in combat when he attacks. And when he attacks, you can actually do a lot of damage, because a lot of decks run artifacts, from mana rocks to cards that they really need in their deck. So the ability to choose an opponent that has only 1 artifact or very few that he wants to sacrifice can also be really good. So this is easily the best monkey commander there is. And I think he's going to be very strong. Isu the Indomitable is 3 any color and 2 blue for a 5/5 legendary snow creature Yeti. It has, you may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may play snow lands and cast snow spells from the top of your library. And whenever another snow permanent enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay white, green, or blue. If you do, put a 1/1 counter on Isu the Indomitable. So snow decks only really had 1 commander that cared about snow, and that's Jorn, God of Wind. This is the backside. So I think it's really cool that we have another one, and this one looks pretty cool. Looking at the top card and being able to play all of them, if they're snow, is very strong. The deck could obviously run only snow lands, so you could run other creatures that give you additional land drops so you can hit more lands consistently. And then if you can hit more lands consistently, you can cast more spells. So it'll snowball out of control, pun intended, and then you put all your excess mana into this guy, putting 1/1 counters on him, making him really big. So yeah, dope commander, and I think he'll be really fun to play. So we've seen a lot of cool cards today, and I really like how they're making the tribes that are completely obscure really strong by putting in solid commanders. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I sure had fun. Please like and subscribe. It's a new channel. I need a bit of help. And subscribe if you want to see more content like this. See ya.